Hey everyone, it's Naomi Wolf, and I'm here as promised to read to you my essay, which has generated a fair amount of comment, but not, in my view, enough given the subject matter. My essay about the jailing of Stephen K. Bannon and what it means to all of us. It's a much bigger story, in my view, than the sad enough, wrong enough story of one American serving a 4-month sentence in prison in a gross double standard. I speak as a former political consultant to President Clinton's reelection campaign, to Vice President Gore's campaign for the presidency, and I was the wife of a White House speechwriter, and everyone around the president and the vice president depended at that time and relies to this day on executive privilege. Literally, if you don't have executive privilege, meaning that the tradition, which has the weight of I don't know if it's the weight of law, but it's certainly the weight of received understanding, that the advisors around the president can give him advice that is confidential. If you don't have that, it is virtually impossible to run a country, let alone a superpower. So in my view, Stephen K. Bannon is being very unjustly treated compared to other people who are not in jail, not facing incarceration. And leaving that kind of almost aside, because that's a deep issue of its own, I wrote this essay because I'm very, very concerned that people really don't seem to understand in the United States what it represents, the turning point that it represents. You know, if you follow my work, that I've been warning since 2007, since my book, The End of America, that there are certain set steps that tyrants always take in closing an open society and creating a tyranny. And there are 10 steps. And we're at step 10, which is emergency law. But within step 10, we're at the point in 1933 in Germany at which it wasn't enough to hound and wage lawfare against the opposition. It was time to physically mop up the opposition. So I'll tell you what I have to say in this essay, and I really hope you spread the word, because there should be a massive, massive outcry, resistance at this event for what it means for all of us. And the silence is very dangerous. All right, what time it is. The imprisonment of Stephen K. Bannon. On July 1st, 2024, the U.S. detained its most prominent political prisoner, its most obvious political prisoner, probably since the incarceration of Japanese Americans in World War II. On July 1st, 2024, podcaster, entrepreneur, former Navy officer, and political advisor to President Trump, Stephen K. Bannon, surrendered, in his words, to authorities to begin serving 4 months incarceration at Danbury Federal Prison. FCI, Federal Correctional Institution, Danbury, in Danbury, Connecticut, is a serious prison. The handbook, which all inmates receive, reveals a range of minute restrictions on liberty and even on any adult decision-making that characterizes strict incarceration. Stephen K. Bannon, now one of the loudest and most powerful dissident voices in America in our time, will have no access at all to the internet, according to FCI Danbury Inmates Handbook. Could that one condition alone be the actual end goal of this sentence so assiduously sought? As I've pointed out elsewhere, from my experience, the world of aides around President Clinton and Vice President Gore, everyone advising the president and the VP relied on the protections of executive privilege, and they do so to this day. Mr. Bannon is being treated with a shameful double standard, which I mentioned in my introduction just now. The myriad restrictions on every aspect of an inmate's daily life at FCI Danbury reveal that while this is a minimum security prison, there is at that facility an approach to incarceration that is mentally wearing and institutionalizing. Looking at these prison regulations, One can see from where the global mental torture of COVID-era lockdowns, the minute regulation of time, space, decisions, options may have derived. Lockdown itself is a prison-derived term. Mr. Bannon will receive a set number of points a month for visitors, and each visit uses up these points. He will need to submit to authorities in advance a list of visitors and fill out forms for each. Each visit will need to be approved. Points are used up for metrics as random seeming as the distance the visitor travels. Mr. Bannon will be awakened at 6 a.m. every day, and if he oversleeps, there will be disciplinary action. He can possess no more than 20 postage stamps at a time. He will be able to shop at the commissary, but with a limit of $360 per month. Visits restrict human contact from family members. Quote, kissing, embracing, and handshaking, holding are allowed only upon arrival and departure. Enforced for all but 10 minutes a day is controlled movement, which is not clearly defined in the handbook and can only be imagined by those of us outside the prison. Inmates within it are permitted open movement for just 10 minutes a day. Running and jogging are not permitted at all. There are 5 inmate counts a day. Phone calls are limited to 15 minutes each for a total of 300 minutes a month. Can we hear from Steve Bannon? Can we hear from him at all? And this is a quote from the handbook: inmate correspondence with representatives of the news media. An inmate may write following special mail procedures to representatives of the news media when specified by name and title. The inmate may not receive compensation or anything of value for correspondence with the news media. The inmate may not act as a reporter, publish under a byline, or conduct a business or profession while in BOP, Board of Prisons, custody. The italics are mine. That's a very important sentence. Representatives of the news media may initiate correspondence with an inmate. Correspondence from a representative of the news media will be opened, inspected for contraband, for qualifications as media correspondence, and for content, which is likely to promote either illegal activity or conduct contrary to BOP regulations, end quote. So literally, every communication from a member of the news media has to be established by the authorities to be representing a member of the news media. They could theoretically write off independent media, conservative media, any media they want. And Mr. Bannon can't act as a reporter, so he can't even report on the conditions of his prison stay. He can't engage in commentary about the election. And the censorship extends to conduct contrary to BOP regulations, which could literally mean Mr. Bannon giving his opinion of the debate or his opinion of any political strategy at all. Interestingly, there is a rich offering of educational opportunities in this prison. This is me again. Mr. Bannon can take martial arts, use the legal library, receive subscriptions, learn English as a second language, or complete a GED, get religious instruction, and accomplish any number of other educational tasks. He can send snail mail. However, Bannon's voice has been effectively silenced by FCI Danbury for the critical next 4 months, which just happen to overlap with this make or break, do we survive as a free nation or die presidential race. The War Room posse cannot mass in the visiting room. They can't see him. His globally successful podcast cannot broadcast his actual voice, as I understand the prison regulations. Mr. Bannon can't even follow the presidential campaign via online news. He can't tweet. He can't live stream. He can't record for later transmission. His mass movement mobilizing, unyielding, Constitution-defending voice has been cut off from the flowing lifeblood of journalism and of politics from the digital world. The 1,001 restrictions that circle his every action round in the next 4 months will require tremendous fortitude to resist psychologically. His physical incarceration seems like a secondary outcome of what seems to be the primary goal of his sentence, that is to say, the removal of Steve Bannon from the stream of public conversation, public guidance, public mobilization, and from the public resistance to the murderous globalist plans for us all. So let me say this. Where the hell are you, everyone? Where are you, conservatives, libertarians, independents? Hell, where are you, liberal Americans? Anyone who claims to care about an open society and due process of law? Where are you, freedom lovers? Where are you, alt media? Do you not realize what time it is? I look at the reaction to Bannon's imprisonment, which is, with the exception of a few horrified podcasts and a handful of distraught articles in the alternative press, a non-reaction, with astonishment. I am amazed that millions of ordinary citizens who should know better, and thought leaders who should know better, and elected officials who should know better, all seem blithely unaware of the lessons of history. Do you think that if you ignore what has happened to Mr. Bannon, that you will be spared? I have been warning since 2007 in my book, The End of America, about the sequence of steps that tyrants always take in order to close down an open society. Since 2020, we are in the US at step 10 of the 10 steps to fascism, that is, at the point of enduring emergency law. We have, as the whole world saw during the recent presidential debate, that true symbol of a banana republic, a puppet leader. But in the last few months, the hallmark final events signaling a murdered democracy have started to unfold in earnest. This is the stage of the physical mopping up of the opposition. Independent commentator Mark Stein, against medical instruction, though seriously unwell, crossed the ocean to appear at a judicial hearing in London, in which Ofcom, the UK government media regulator, explained that the agency was entitled to destroy his career, reputation, and livelihood because of the harm he had caused by reporting the truth about dangerous mRNA injections, some of which have now been pulled off the market in the US. Podcaster and commentator Alex Jones asserts that federal agencies are trying to shut down his studio, and he has been compelled by a judge to pay $1.5 billion to the families of the Sandy Hook victims, a judgment that is forcing him into bankruptcy. Epoch Times, the third most read digital publication and an independent voice regarding issues ranging from President Trump's campaign to the events of January 6th to the COVID injections, has been hit by a major reputational attack via a hard-to-follow story involving bank cards, unemployment benefits, and the alleged financial misdeeds of a CFO who has denied the charges. Dr. Joseph Mercola, a major independent medical voice critical of pharma, was debanked due, he believes, to his views on COVID. What you need to understand is that debanking, loss of medical licenses, deplatforming, fines are all mere annoyances that go along with the late-stage decline of free civil societies. But the physical incarceration of critics, signaled now by the imprisonment of Stephen K. Bannon, means we have passed a point almost of no return. Once they take your body into custody, anything can be done to you, in addition to the suppression of your voice. One of the scary things about FCI Danbury is that inmates have a responsibility to accept medical treatment and follow medical treatment protocols. That could mean anything. Mr. Bannon would probably dismiss my concerns. His courage and that of his daughter, Captain Maureen Bannon, is unimpeachable. His farewell speech, given just prior to his surrender to imprisonment, is one for the history books, delivered with that elan of a Celt wading into a throng of vicious enemies, swinging a sword and shouting with the joy of battle. I barely know Mr. Bannon personally, except in my role as a guest on his podcast, but I recognize in him a patriot, a brother in the fight for our nation's liberty, and a hero for our times. Though I don't agree with him on any number of policy concerns, I recognize that he is the general on the battlefield of the freedom movement, a general for all of us, of whatever political stripe, who love our country and will not see it die if we can help it. Sometimes I've expressed to him anxiety about the future. I come from a whining subculture. Whenever I do, he responds sternly, "Stop," and then he adds, "Get to work." So I assume he would not condone the worry I have, not just for him, but for us all. Those of us who are left unruined as of yet, unincarcerated as of yet, are braced for what may be coming our way. We are checking our food and water supplies, checking our security systems, and we are training peacefully with firearms. My worry is that once you are in their physical custody, whoever they are who wish you silenced, whether this custody is in a quarantine camp, a restricted hospital setting where loved ones are not permitted, or in a prison, they can do anything to you. Once they take your physical body into custody, we have arrived at that notorious 6-month period in 1993 in Germany. And I'm quoting from a Holocaust history text. Quote, "Within days of the Reichstag fire and the resulting presidential decree for the protection of the people and state, February 28th, the SA and SS escalated the violence against Nazi political opponents. Thousands of communists and social democrats were arrested and jailed. In March and April of 1933, an estimated 40,000 to 50,000 political foes were taken into protective custody, Schutzhaft, and imprisoned in concentration camps. The SA and SS routinely beat up and tortured political opponents and vandalized, looted, or destroyed leftist parties' offices. Sometimes individuals were murdered. Not even individuals holding political office at the local or national level were safe from such violence. Some 500 municipal administrators and 70 mayors were forcibly removed from their positions by the end of May 1933. By the end of spring, the violence had spread to non-leftist political figures. On June 26th, Heinrich Himmler, the head of Bavaria's political police and head of the Nazi SS, ordered his forces to place all Reichstag and state assembly representatives from the Bavarian People's Party in, quote, protective custody. Like that, the equivalent is MAGA or Republican leaders, or independent leaders, or Democratic leaders who don't toe the line. In this period, the SS, this is me again, informally seized opposition leaders and civil society leaders who had stood fast against their party and ideology. They seized union leaders, journalists and editors, outspoken religious leaders, and elected officials. They seized prominent people of all kinds. They marched them off. They took them into informal custody, basement prisons, and beat them, and eventually released some of them to tell the tale of their abuse, or they disappeared them. People heard about these basement prisons. They were scared. They went quiet. They complied. In 6 months, civil society had ended in Germany. They complied just as you, national political leaders, thought leaders, are scared and going quiet and complying in the wake of Steve Bannon's arrest, hoping that this silence will buy you freedom from a similar fate. So many people in the freedom movement are dead. Perhaps it is all just coincidence, just bad luck. Dr. Vladimir Zelenko, who warned presciently in December 2021 that the COVID virus was a bioweapon, that the COVID vaccine was premeditated mass murder, and that we are in World War III, as he put it, is dead. Dr. Carrie B. Mullis, who invented and exposed the limitations of the PCR test, is dead. Dr. Rashid Buttar, a member of the Disinformation Dozen, claimed that he had been poisoned and shortly thereafter passed away. Italian MEP Francesca Donato, who was a vocal anti-vaxxer during COVID and criticized the Green Pass system that restricted the travel of the unvaccinated in Italy, lost her husband. He was found dead in a Land Rover. Are all of these accidents, losses, and mishaps irrelevant? Your silence will not protect you, to quote poet Audre Lorde. Quote, I was going to die, if not sooner than later, whether or not I had ever spoken myself. My silences had not protected me. Your silence will not protect you. What are the words you do not have yet? What do you need to say? What are the tyrannies you swallow day by day and attempt to make your own until you will sicken and die of them, still in silence? We have been socialized to respect fear more than our own need for language, end quote. 6 months after the SS's detentions and beatings began, after the silences of others about the detentions and beatings, the National Socialists consolidated their power. And that was the end of the chance to speak out till that party was defeated in a bloody world war. That's what time it is now. Leaders from all walks of life, you fools. This is where we are. If you don't speak out now, they won't pass you by. That is a false calculation. It won't be Steve Bannon next time, and thus not you. Because of your silence now, next time it will be you. So that is my essay, and we have many comments. Let's see what the comments are. Helen Collier says, agree with you. Republicans and Democrats of good character are few and far. And Tommy Borum says, what a time to be alive. And yeah, Roscoe Aryeh, who's a friend of ours, or Roscoe Sings, says, this sentence was handed out in 2022. Maybe his appealing delayed it, but something tells me they still would have made it these 4 critical months. I really agree with you, Roscoe. That really makes sense. Osiris Oft One says he's serving his country as a political prisoner. Make sure it's at least 10 men and women standing up, calling out the tyrants. Well, they are certainly tyrants. And Tommy Borum says, exactly, he's one of many, many more coming. And, well, I shouldn't censor anyone. Osiris Soft One says, and Satanists. I don't know that they're Satanists. They're certainly satanic activities going on, satanic energies and outcomes, but I don't know that they're Satanists. Rather Be Hunting, I get it, says, I have said this for years. All Bannon had to do was show up and refuse to answer questions. He would have complied and in the clear. He took a chance with showmanship and lost. You do not have the right to defy Congress, but you cannot be forced to answer their question. This is true if you think the committee is legit or not. And then Atavism Schmatavism says, what about Mayorkas and Eric Holder, though? I mean, this is a debate worth having. I don't think there are easy answers to it. I just know that there's, as Atavism Schmatavism points out, a double standard. Tommy Borum says he will have a lawsuit now to return to Congress with to sue over a false committee's illegitimate subpoena. Taking it to the mats will leave him better off with something to show for it. I really don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not advising him. I don't know the inside strategy or analysis. I don't. I mean, in a way, all of these are important questions and observations, but I really, encourage everyone. The purpose of my essay was not to get into the weeds with any one man's sentence, but to broaden the perspective over the whole battlefield and to recognize what this means for America, right? What this means for America. Julian Assange was imprisoned, and all of Western Europe's press complied and became kind of, note takers. What is it called? People who take shorthand, take dictation for the national security state. And with Bannon in prison, it's a shot across the bow to everyone, right? Everyone can face lawfare. Everyone can face being swatted. I mean, Bannon's producers were swatted, completely peaceful, non-political people who are just producing his show got swatted, which is terrifying from what I understand. Marjorie Taylor Greene says she's been swatted. This is not America. She says she's been swatted 11 times. That's what I'm trying to remind you. This is not America. So I hope for the best for Mr. Bannon, obviously. I hope for a good outcome for him. I respect him a lot, but he wouldn't want us to get bogged down with his legal challenges. He would want us to look at the battlefield and recognize what this means for all of us. Do you guys understand that? It's really important that you understand that. It's much bigger than Mr. Bannon, what happened to him. People are more aware of political prisoners. That's correct. Chris says conservatives have no experience or structure to organize against the system like liberals on the left. Maybe you guys can organize something like you did the Pfizer doc reviews. So this is one of those moments. The whole point is, I don't mean to be mean, Chris, or rude. No, not us. You do it. You organize it. You make it happen, right? Everyone you see still left to the public eye, people like me, people like, this 12 of us that are left, right, at a kind of a national commentary level, are exhausted, broke, and scared. Okay, you've got to understand this. And people have to snap out of the leaders will do it, or the people we see on television will do it, or, the people on the biggest podcasts will do it. No, we are flat out, we are flat out. And I just want to say also support for organizations like War Room. I can't speak for them, but Children's Health Defense, all of the independent podcasts, now that the immediate crisis of lockdowns and mandates has abated, it's way down. So people are really struggling. And I'm not trying to ask you for money, right? I'm just trying to tell you the reality. The people I've named are like broken with exhaustion, broken with legal fees. They're not showing it. They're very courageous. I shouldn't speak for them. They are under unbelievable stress. I'm under unbelievable stress. My my husband and I are under unbelievable stress. You should see the security checks he makes. You should see the precautions for when we travel, right? Don't ask us to do anything else. That's the wrong mentality. We won't survive, right? If the people who were being not taken in by the SS said to the last remaining public figures, oh, you organize resistance to the SS, it wouldn't have stopped the SS. Now it's your turn. Now it's you guys, everyone watching. You need to stop lying on your couch and thinking something is going to come save you. Nothing will save you but yourselves at this point. So that's a very good idea to organize a resistance. Chris, you will have to do it. And don't think that you don't have power. Every single person watching this, if you know 50 people, you can organize a resistance, and you can organize it in multiple ways. Now imagine if every single person watching this did a thing to organize resistance, we would have a resistance. And by the way, that's why America is a little better off than a lot of countries that have been completely broken, like Canada and Australia and England, because of the thousands and thousands of individual acts of mass resistance. A really good example I just heard about today is, I guess in Iowa, people were told not to carry a cross or carry an American flag because it was offensive. So they did more of it, right? That just not complying, right? You guys get together, hold a potluck, talk to your neighbors, talk to like-minded people, and think, what can we do? 6 things we can do. And so Chris says, I will help. I can give a couple hours a day of my time. All right, Chris, awesome. That's the right answer, and I appreciate it. So you draft a plan, draft a memo of 3 things you and your friends can accomplish, whether it's, writing letters, whether it's, God, what is it at this point? Making sure, food supplies are intact in your area, whether it's teaching people firearm safety, right? Whether it's, printing out copies of the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and passing them out at truck stops. I don't care, right? Whether it's going on BillCam or legisector.com are fantastic tools, and passing laws. There are a lot of good laws. You just need to pass them. You can do it digitally now on our platforms to, for instance, prevent people who are not citizens from voting, right? You can pass them at the state level. You can pass our election integrities bill. You can do that. Throw a potluck, print out our election integrities bill. It's on Daily Clout. Pass it around to 50 people. Feed them, a casserole, and get that thing sponsored in your state. Book a meeting with your elected official, with the chief of staff, get 50 names, send it into the chief of staff and say, we need a meeting. You need to pass this bill. You can do all of that. All right. And I hope that it's okay that I let you know how I really feel about this, because this is critical. I mean, we've been conditioned, Americans, and I know people are watching from all over the world, but I really want to say especially Americans, the people who came to build a city on a hill, right? Who resisted the greatest colonial power of the 18th century and overcame it. We have been conditioned to lie on the couch and let other people take care of it or not. I mean, look what happened in the last 4 years when we trusted the government and the science, right? It didn't work out so well for us. So this is no time to trust that the military will do the right thing. Who knows what military it is? It could be the UN. Who are these Ukrainians of military age, 400,000 of them? Who are the Chinese of military age coming in over the border? Who are the, El Salvadorian the cartel-related people of military age coming over the border? We don't know. It could be UN soldiers. It could be mercenaries. It could be militia members, gang members. We don't know. But we know if you don't see a not secure America right now that can turn on you in a heartbeat with these treacherous months leading up to an election that they know at this point they can't win. You guys have to understand how dangerous that is. They will do anything because they know they cannot win with a demented candidate. You have to understand that you have to secure your own communities. You have to be ready to fight. And in the meantime, you have to object to everything you find objectionable. I'll give you an example. I went to a 4th of July parade in Malden Bridge. There, I'm saying it, upstate New York. We were a little late. We missed the actual parade. They read the Declaration of Independence at the parade. I got a call because I had won something I bid for at the silent auction. And I was told by someone who is a volunteer that they hadn't read the Declaration of Independence that year because of some emergency. And the person who was supposed to read it wasn't there. And that wasn't okay with me. And I said, well, that's not okay. You need to read the Declaration of Independence, and you can Google it. And if the person who's supposed to read it isn't there, give it to a 14-year-old to read it. Someone has to read the Declaration of Independence. You need to be those assholes. I'm sorry for my language, but you need to be that obnoxious person who stands up for your country and says, you will let me fly the flag. You will read the Declaration of Independence. I am going to, stand up for my community, for the Bill of Rights. You won't put a mask on me. I'm going to fight it. You won't mask my child. I'm going to fight it. You won't tell me where to stand. You won't inject something into my body. I'm going to fight it. All right. If we continue to fight and fight and fight, we can prevail because of attrition. And as Brian, my husband, Brian O'Shea points out, and he is a soldier of many decades in many conflict areas, when you burn their resources, that's also a victory. So you need to be that obnoxious person. I'm sorry for my unladylike language. And I hope that that's clear. Glenna Tomlin says, you're right, it's much bigger. Thank you. Chris said, not all of us are queen bees, some of us are worker bees. I consider myself a worker bee rather, but I don't think we need that kind of division, right? Because as I keep saying, people are so much more important and impactful in their own circles than they realize. We've been conditioned not to realize that if you organize your neighbors in a potluck, you are showing leadership and having an impact. CK says something really important. So does Rye Davis. Rye Davis says, we must all stand. We all must stand. I must reach for courage. Amen. Thank you, Rye Davis. Bless you. That is the most beautiful, perfect thing you can say. I must reach for courage. We all must stand. I cannot agree with you more. Beautifully put. And I salute you. I mean, that's leadership. CK says, I think all of us are more exhausted, broke, and scared than we were 5 years ago. That is for sure. That said, yes to what you are saying. You've done the work and passed the baton. Thank you. Susan Ertelt says, hashtag next man up. Exactly. Kimberly Ash said, I always followed your career and watched you on C-SPAN. Well, I didn't always agree with you. I respected you in your writing. Thank you. She's thanking me for my courage. Thank you. But I want to thank everyone here for their courage, which you are manifesting, will continue to. Susan Ertelt says, pray, pray, pray. I do agree with you there. I don't know why prayer is a powerful weapon. I don't quite get it. But as many of you know, I'm reading the Geneva Bible. You can go to Geneva Bible Readings by Naomi Wolf on Substack. And it does seem to change outcomes. So I agree. I think we do need to pray, and I do. And you know what? You can pray for Steve Bannon. He will not be asking for your prayers, no doubt. But let's send our prayers to make sure he's safe in prison, and also his family. It must be very painful and scary to have a loved one in incarceration in that way, in that situation. I'm sure it's painful and scary for anyone, but with such a high-profile loved one in prison. Pray for his family as well, and for War Room. Love Blue Sky says, wolves in sheep's clothing. I can't really tell what that means, but you can make your own decision about me. Susan Ertelt says, we will prevail, America strong. Exactly. And Chris says, hoorah. And thank you, Dr. Wolf. Yeah, we stand, we will win. I agree. And Susan Ertelt says, please end your message today, Naomi. We would love to hear your prayer. God bless you and Brian. Well, that's really sweet. Well, that's a kind of interesting, awkward thing for me to consider. Beautiful thing for you to suggest, Susan. I'm Jewish, and we don't really pray out loud. Well, we do with prayers, right? Like in the prayer book. But this kind of thing of like spontaneous verbal prayer is more of a Christian thing. I think it's really sweet and moving and lovely, and I always love it when someone does it. I actually think it helped me significantly when I was injured. I had a group of people physically praying over me. But I think I should push myself beyond my own comfort level, just like I've asked you to. And you said, you're so sweet. You said, close your eyes and speak. All right, I'm going to cry. Dear God, please help us in the United States of America. Please help this country. Please strengthen us. Please keep us safe and free. And please protect everyone who's fighting for freedom, because that's your wish, that human beings would have freedom. Please make sure that everyone who's in danger for having spoken up for freedom is safe and protected. Please put your protection around War Room and the whole team there, the whole family, everyone who has fought so hard for us. Please protect them as they continue to work hard for all of us, to inform us, to get the truth out. Gosh, help us be less tired, less broke, less scared. Give us the resources we need for this battle. And please just, like, you're capable of everything. Please just, can you please just dramatically disempower these evildoers who surround us and want the worst for our country and for our freedom and for freedom around the world, and keep us safe from them, and also let there be, please, justice and accountability. Amen. Okay, I did it. Do you have something on your neck? That's an odd question, not to my knowledge. All right. And thank you. And Kathy G says, God bless you, Naomi. This message is much needed right now. Americans must be strong and resist. And God bless Steve Bannon and Dr. Navarro. And Carolyn Carson says, amen. So let's end there. And and Janelle Hopper says, thank you for leading us. Oh, thank you for leading us in prayer. I did not know I was doing that, but thank you. That's really sweet. And Ann Van says, don't let fear overwhelm you. God is with us. I sure hope so. So everyone, you can support War Room. They've made this really clear by supporting their sponsors. So go to the War Room website or app. I believe there's an app as well. And whatever is there that you need, the meat or the phones or the birch gold, order some, because that's how they pay their bills. And they've said that's how you help them. So please go ahead and help them. If you want to support us, we need you to do the same thing. For us, it's very important to support independent media. So go to Daily Clout and support our sponsors and affiliates there. The Wellness Company, and also our new sponsor is Native Path. Get nativepath.com. And if you want to send donations to War Room, you should do that. And if you want to send donations to Daily Clout, you should do that. And this is Loki, and he's protecting us as well. And if you want to, what else can you do? If you want to communicate with each other, we have a platform called Communities on Daily Clout, and you can organize activities, events, resistance, and very important, go to Bill Cam on Daily Clout, and you can follow, launch, pass any state or federal bill, and join Legisector. Go to legisector.com. It's our new platform where you can get like a custom legislative portal for whatever you're interested in, any kind of advocacy, any kind of legislation, energy, family stuff, choice stuff, infrastructure, healthcare. If you've got a need to know what the bills are, sign up there and subscribe there. It's transformational, and all of that helps us fight the good fight. All right, I'll see you again. Thank you for joining me. Please spread the word, share the word, and you can find this essay on Outspoken on Substack. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.